Hey everybody, this is Grace, and it is Tuesday, the 21st. And I would say good Tuesday morning, but it's not a good day for me. It's not been a good while for me. In fact, my life has never been easy, ever, 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 ever. I can't stress it enough. People who know me say that I have a jinx life. I don't believe anything mystical, magical like that. Like, some one person's just going to have, a jinx life kind of thing. But yeah, I've seen it. Never been easy. And you see my dog's decided he's going to come and make noise right in front of the screen. Yeah, typical day. But anyway, this is not a fluffy, happy, because I'm not fluffy and happy today at all. Woke up this morning, the usual routine. The dogs think, before I'm even out of bed, the dogs think they have to be fed and they're jumping up and down, making all kinds of noise, hurry, hurry, hurry kind of thing. I'm used to that. That's nothing. But okay, let's see. As soon as I start talking again, the dog's going to start making more noise again. But anyway, I've got the door open for them to go out. He's going to sit right there. That's what he likes to do. It's right there and makes noise. But anyway, after that, after getting the dogs, sometimes it takes like 30 minutes, 45 minutes to get everything going in the morning, in the right direction or in their direction. I decided to sit down, in front of my computer for a moment, and no, dude, he said, I told you I can't do anything without these dogs making noises. But I sit down and Adam goes to get dressed to go to work, and he calls me in there. And I'm like, what in the world is it now? So I go in there, and the blinds, we got new blinds last Wednesday. Today's Tuesday. Just last Wednesday, got these new blinds. And this was a process, a long process. So much trouble just to get blinds put in the house. The new ones, the other ones, I don't know, they weren't bad to me. But anyway, we got these new blinds. They were costly. It was expensive. Hoping to save on electricity and all this kind of stuff because they're darker and everything. He said, "Come in here and look at this." In the bedroom, it's got three big windows and three arched ones above it. Those blinds were all bent, crumpled, everything. Just all messed up. We just got them Wednesday of last week. Today's Tuesday. Really now? Seriously? And like I said, they were costly. And they also didn't have everything they needed. There was only one guy that came to install them, and it actually happened Wednesday. Didn't have all the pieces, of course, So, and Adam told him, he said, I didn't expect it to go right the first time. And that's sad. When you get to a point in life, you already know it's not going to go right. These are still called professionals. It should go right. It should go flow some way. But there's always going to be a problem. And he had to take off from work for that day to do it. So it's costly to the person. Well, he's salary, so yeah. But still, it's like when you get your cable installed and somebody has to take off and they don't show up, or they show up like 6 o'clock in the evening, that kind of thing. But anyway, this is a mild thing in comparison to what else has been going on. And I started mentioning this months ago. This thing that started months ago is still ongoing months later. Okay, yes, I am experiencing these days when it rains, it pours. I can't say that I haven't always. I always have, but it's just pouring a little harder, apparently. And I'm not going to mention the big thing until it's over. And yes, it's a court case until it's over. But let me tell you, it's not mine. Let me tell you, what you might think, what you might have heard, everybody always tells you this, don't believe everything you hear. These days, read, see, whatever. They also said all that. But it's not like you think. Believe me. And the situation is so cliche, it's unbelievable. But the outcome, not really. But the big thing, I'm setting aside. And then on top of it is these little things. Like I said, in comparison, the blinds is a little thing, even though it was very expensive. It's a little thing. And one of the little things happened to me Friday after I saw somebody have a meltdown. I thought he actually had a seizure. It was just a meltdown. Too much stress. Way too much stress. And I left. And I went out to where I usually sometimes go for a little drive and do some videos, drive videos. And went out there, and my clothing was just uncomfortable. I was situated in the chair, everything. So I knew there was a little cul-de-sac there, and that around the curve of it is just a wooded area. On one, I guess you call it a leg, one side of the street there's no houses, just an open field. On the other side is just 3 houses, just 3. One of them's being built. The middle one is obviously lived in, and the other one that's more away from the curved part of it is, I don't know if somebody lives there or not, but there's a road right there, and that's where I had to turn to go to that area. So I did. I turned, went to that area, and I saw, as I was turning, I was looking, had to look that way, of course. I saw a woman in the middle house getting into her SUV, which was a black one, kind of like Adam's. She was getting into it. She was probably mid-30s, strawberry blonde hair. I don't know. Never seen her before, of course. But so I drove down to the end, and I parked where my SUV was facing the wooded area, and kind of, on the edge of the corner of the curve, and parked it there so I could adjust, my safety belt, all of this, my clothing. I had a t-shirt, which I don't wear t-shirts, and I did that day, and it was an old one, and it was just didn't fit right and everything. Now I know why I don't wear them. But I parked there to do that. You wouldn't believe what happened after that. What happened then? Yeah. Now, my brain decided just to kind of like not really see it as something big, but a little bit, but not really. And if you've seen as much crap as I have, being surrounded by, like people call them malignant narcissists, and I'm not kidding either, my whole life, which means beginning of life, wasn't a choice, that, yeah, you might see some of these things as little in comparison. And this one, apparently, I somewhat saw it as little in comparison. And what it was, there I was parked, adjusting my safety belt and all, getting comfortable in the seat, when all of a sudden a black SUV drove up next to me and blocked me in. Okay? My brain immediately thinks, did Adam follow me? How would he know where I was? This kind of thing, He wouldn't know that I was there. And I turned and looked, and it was that woman from that second house. Okay, the one that was getting in her SUV at the time. And it's not, that's the end of the road. That's the cul-de-sac. There's no other way for her to go but back the other direction where I said I had to turn. And I look over her, like I said, strawberry blonde hair. She has this look that I've seen in women from my own ethnic group. She was that they just look. It's a certain kind of look, and they have that, always have had that I have ever seen, had an attitude about them. Like they run everything. And I looked over her, and she jutted her, her face out like she was trying to, she wasn't saying anything, just like, just her look is going to tell me that I'm wrong. Well, no, I'm not. That road does not belong to her, But my brain wasn't thinking like that. I was just looking at her, And immediately my SUV still turned on. I just, had put it in park, and I started to try to move. So she moved to where she, went around the curve and was in front of me. And rearview mirrors aren't that big, but somehow she looked huge in it. And she was doing that thing of jutting her face out, not repeatedly, but just, with a stern look on her face and everything. And I'm like, crazy person, And I whipped out my my cell phone. I was going to, start taping it, but, for some reason I just, videoing it, I just said, no. So I drove, right there. There's just 3 houses, next to one another, real close. And I had to turn, to get out of there. And as I was turning, I looked back over, and she was in her driveway with her window rolled down, doing that thing of her face out the window, looking at me. Crazy person, crazy. Now, one thing I think is bad about me, and some might think it's a good thing, is that I'll change a crazy kind of situation around in my head to make it funny, at some point, laugh about it. Or I will do what's called a defense mechanism called intellectualization. Some way, somehow. And there's more to that. And I know this is my way. I know that I do it. It is basically you look at things in a more logical way or something. You intellectualize it, and then that way you don't feel the emotion. And it's not a good thing. It's not considered a good thing to do this, and I'm well aware of it, but I do it. So yeah, at first I was worried about myself because I didn't feel reaction. You know, when somebody blocks you in like that, and here it is, a woods, wooded area, and then next to it is just an open field. Somebody crazy enough to do something like that, me, I would say just another person that's weird or something. But of course, then I turned around in my head some kind of story. If I'm going to come up with a story, it's going to become to think why would this woman be doing it? I would think, something like what I did was to think maybe her husband was cheating on her and she saw this SUV with a woman in it, so she wanted to go and confront the woman. See what I'm saying? This is what I'll do. But really, that's bizarre. What is it called? Vigilante justice or something? What was she going to do? You take it into her own hands, that kind of thing. If it were something in her mind, and I was just, as you all know, just going there to adjust my safety belt and my clothing and everything to make myself more comfortable. People get a little crazy, and I am fully well aware of that fact, that the people get a little crazy. So that was Friday. After seeing somebody have a meltdown, but I didn't really start feeling, and that's the thing, is the feeling to it, the emotion to it, that either one of them till later. It was two back to back, I think, I can intellectualize it and say, that, but really, I'll be right back. So, anyway, I left from there. I didn't speed, but, my brain was saying, get the heck out of Dodge kind of thing. And, what if this crazy woman went home, called the police saw me, they came out, yeah, because my brain goes there because I've seen crazy shit. Oops, pardon my language. I've seen it. I've seen the crazy crap. So, I come home, all right, pull in, and the way I drive, the crazy neighbor, remember the crazy neighbor story? They are supposed to be moving. It's just like they're, one of the neighbors told Adam they're moving, and it's just like they're taking their time, this kind of thing. I want them to move so bad. Because you might remember the crazy lady story. She's not a lady, if you ask me. About charging across the neighborhood at me. Luckily, the dogs were in the SUV, and I'd just come home. I was opening the back of the SUV, and she and one of her employees, let's say, saw the dogs, and backed off. They called the police on me when it was them at fault, and the police came out. I had called the non-emergency. They called emergency. I had called a non-emergency, not knowing. The police came out for the emergency call. They did, asked me what was I doing, kind of attitude like I was at fault, like explained it to them, and the whole situation, and they were told not to do this again, apparently. But the one that was the employee kept doing it. Anyway, long story. I won't go through the rest of it. But when I came home Friday, and after that, these two scenes, I came home, there was somebody in that driveway, but kind of like driveway, but kind of like at the end of it, parked, and it was really strange. It wasn't somebody I've ever seen live there, and or be there. None of the employees or anything, but they were carrying something out, and it looked very awkward, and putting it in the trunk of their car. It was just a very weird vibe I got from it. I don't believe, in mystical magical, but I got a really eerie vibe. Now, and I never heard anything else about that. Nothing else came from it. But that whole situation with them, with that neighbor, every time I go and get out of out into my SUV, and I'm backing up. Once I back up, that's when I can see, and I have to look that way because of the way the road curves. And I'm backing up. I have to make sure nobody is, coming around that curve real fast, because they do. That was all part of the problem in the beginning. But, so I have to look that way. Every time I do, every time I'm coming home, every time I'm going out, these days it's every time. It used to be just every once in a while. somebody from that house will come outside, and usually they get in their car, sit in a car, and just watch me. It's creepy. It's extremely creepy. Okay, now, of course, anybody can say, why don't you call the police? Why don't you do this? I've had experiences with it, and if you don't have somebody to witness it every time, and even then, it's your word against, or you, the two of you, or however many people against theirs. I have, it has to be some huge thing where there's a whole bunch of witnesses. It seems like that. When did our life? When did this world become like that? Really? So that was. I mean, people say bad luck comes in threes. That day it was apparently three. But anyway, so I could say my nerves are shot, but my nerves weren't really shot until yesterday. All of a sudden, I started feeling anxiety. And yeah, there was this thing, like I said, called intellectualization, a defense mechanism. And I think it was wearing off. But I'm going to tell you, okay, all this that I'm saying, how have I been dealing with it? Well, some of you know that I have another channel, and I've used that other channel for various things, like when we did the floors. I kept a record of the process. It was a month, remember? A little over a month. And then they had to come back and all that kind of stuff. But I kept a video record of it on that channel. I've done hauls on that channel every blue moon. I've done just different things on that channel. And it's been probably a year, I guess, that I've had that channel. Maybe a little more. I don't know. But I hardly ever posted on it. And sometimes just things that I wanted to remember that weren't something I usually put on this channel, I would put on there. And just along that line. Well, I decided, I guess it was on the 16th of last month, so a little over a month ago, and decided to use that channel to vent, basically. Not really vent, but it turned into that whole thing with intellectualization, defense mechanism, yeah. And that's what I did with it. And I took off all of the other videos. I made them on private that had anything to do with anything else. There was one on there, I think it's from like 6 months ago, with the beginning of some of this. Because every once in a while I would talk about things, and I do it in an indirect way, usually in an indirect way. And you hear my phone. Okay, where was I? Anyway, that was Adam calling me to let me know that he had called where we bought the blinds, and they have a protocol of what they have to do. Now, like I told him, if they have a protocol, then this isn't the first time. And they said that they're going to have to see if it's, first they're going to have to find out if it's an installation problem. The people who had installed it, which were contractors. No, Adam says that they curled up, the blinds curled up. And they did basically behind anything, a curtain. He had put some, I had called yesterday to try to find out about curtains, having them installed. 20 minutes into the call, finally somebody gave me an answer. Yeah, and believe me, I told the guy rather nicely that they need to get it together. At 20 minutes, you're going to lose customers that way. Not like they care, because they're a big corporation. I am so, but anyway, I am feeling very agitated, very irritated, and I know, I should let myself feel the emotion instead of intellectualizing, but sometimes it's just not right for me. It really isn't. And you hear my laughter. Usually I am a cheerful person. I know some of you might not believe it, but I usually am. I'm usually very cheerful, and I'm used to problems, so it's not a learned helplessness or anything. I just know it's going to happen, and you deal with it, and that's what I just kept telling Adam, because he's thinking this is a little too stressful, all the problems coming up and everything. He's got a lot of problems. I don't make problems, they come to me. And I'm not saying he's making them, but it's just one problem after another. And yeah, there's even more to it, more than this. Trust me, believe. Okay, now remember, I'm just talking about the small things, not the big things. I mentioned one, I think, in my video from yesterday, the Dollar Tree video about being bitten by 2 bugs. I showed it to Adam, and he said it looks like spider bites, which I've never had an allergic reaction to spider bites. I have an allergic reaction to flea bites, which we've just done the dog's frontline treatment a couple weeks ago. I'd say a couple weeks ago or so. But it does look different, and both of them, and they look pretty bad. Not bad enough that I need to go to the doctor yet, but if it gets worse, yeah, it looks like it's actually getting better, both of them. So just bad spider bites. And he now is allergic to spider bites. He really is allergic to spider bites. So that's another thing. And on top of all this is, that I mentioned before, I don't remember when, but that Zach is moving out. Now, Zach is the son of one of Adam's cousins, okay? So, I don't know what we call that. I would think second cousin, but no, I don't think it is. Anyway, Adam's niece, one of Adam's niece is supposed to be moving here, okay? Remember, they're from a different country, different culture all around. So, because of modesty issues, which is theirs, they call modesty issues, Adam's niece, cannot be in the same house and live with Zach, even though he's Adam's cousin's son, because they call it still a stranger, okay? Even though it's not a stranger, it's part of their extended family. So Zach has to move out. There's more to that story. Believe me. Okay. Anyway, that's a long story. And it's not just as easy as it seems, kind of thing. But really, he lived here over a year, a little over a year. And I never got to know the guy. He was hardly ever here. And I just really never got to know him. So, it's not my house, it's his. So, hey, it's what he decides to do. But anyway, if I didn't mention this in the early one, things have been happening in between these clips. But my other channel, some people know about my other channel. I mentioned it. I know I mentioned it. And if you want to go watch it to see how I've been dealing with these issues, I'm not really talking about these issues on it. But this is how I've been dealing with it. Like I said, that defense mechanism. It's the channel on YouTube here is Grace in Texas. Grace in Texas. Separated. I don't know how I managed to do that, because you know how difficult it is to get your channel name the way you want it. So anyway, you can go watch that if you want to. I'm not pressuring anybody. Have you noticed that, of course in the summer, once all the kids, people's kids start getting out of school, views slow down and people stop making videos and, all that kind of stuff happens. And I can tell you, my channel still messed up. I've actually started, I guess when I started making the other channel, changed the other channel and changed this one too. I put some on private. I started writing down, I'd done that every once in a while, the view counts to see how it would go. But I started paying a lot more attention to it once I did this. And it will sometimes take like 20 view counts off of one video, like an older video. And I don't know what it does. I just know it takes off, but then later on they'll come back. Or just it'll take like just 1 or 2 view counts off of a video. I don't know. I really don't know. But another thing, I wonder if anybody else has had this problem, is when you go to upload, does it tell you there's some problem with your connection and then you have to go all over again to try to upload? It's done that to me since I changed, upgraded to Windows 10, isn't it? Yeah, whatever. But it's done that to me ever since then. That was like maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Time. Anyway, this is probably the longest video I've ever made, so I'm gonna, not keep going on. But anyway, that's all. Y'all have a good day.